So it is 7 o'clock, and I'll call this meeting to order. You have your agendas? You need an agenda?
I did read it, but
Okay.
I didn't print it.
All right. And I am not seeing Audrey coming in on the Zoom, but the Zoom is open. Oh, hi, Audrey. Are you here? Hey, Audrey, welcome.
Thank you. I'm here.
All right, great.
So also, we requested that we do this first so that folks who are here just for this can leave. Like, you're welcome to stay, but you can also leave after. And Julie has volunteered to take notes in my place while I do this, since I can't. So, should I start?
Sure.
Okay, so we discussed, and I'm sorry that we don't have everyone here too, Wayne isn't here. We discussed kind of bringing the full picture of the library budget to the trustees and thinking about what is our full financial picture. And in doing so, we reached out to everyone we could that might be interested in knowing. I was hoping we'd be televised because I think it's important information. Maybe we'll bring it up another time when they are televised. So I'll start kind of talking about, there's multiple funding sources for the library. We have the town budget, we have state funds, grants, donations, and the Friends. And there are different pools of money available for library use. Some are directed, and some are restricted, and some are not. This report brings together all the library funds that we have so that we can think kind of in a broader picture about the library. So this is our annual budget for this year. It goes out to the trustees. This is what was voted in by the town. It's covers. There you go. Yeah, okay. So it covers almost everything we need for the library. Except, and this is something the town doesn't know, it doesn't cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things, like I asked Patrick to look back last year and say, how much money did we have to take out of other funds to cover the basic needs of the library? And Patrick said we needed to take out $6,194 out of LIG-MIG, which we'll discuss in a moment, for payroll, and $5,285 for operation. So right here, we're looking at about $12,000 every year that we're digging into other money, right? That's not coming from the town.
And I just would add here that this has been it's been a strategy, but it's also been a necessity. We have seen, budgets that are kind of like getting compressed year over year. And we've always had the state aid, which can be used without restriction for any purpose, any library related purpose, whether it's for payroll or operational expenses, buying office supplies, buying, whatever. And as we have prioritized keeping people's pay as much as possible, their whole paycheck coming from the town budget as opposed to other places, we have, squeezed so many of these budgets, as you can see. Some of those, like tuition and meetings, $150, programs, activities, $200, office supplies, $1,000. Things like programming and activities, we've shifted those to the Friends, supporting those almost entirely. Well, they're supporting about half of it, and then the Charlotte Smith Fund covers the other half. But I just wanted to point out that these have been squeezed over time in order for us to be able to pay primarily salaries from our budget.
And for example, I've been a trustee probably for almost 20 years, maybe 15 years. All that time ago, we had over $1,000 back then in our programming budget. So we really have squeezed that out.
$3,000, I think, at its height. And at that point, we're paying for almost all of our programming.
Right.
During the
So, and I don't think this is a complaint. It's just a reality, right? Like, it's just a reality for.
So
that,
Patrick, what would make up that $6,000 on your next slide, if you can go to it? the 6194 for payroll.
But that's coming out of funds that we're gonna.
This is why it's so important for us to meet our obligations to maintain our certification with the state, because that's where the LIGMAG funds come from. They're essentially grants for us being good eggs and maintaining library hours, maintaining our, budget for new materials. And we get out of the grant. So we got, just in short, we got about 16 grand in LIGMAG funds. We spent about 12,000.
What is that word?
So can I just ask as a point of order, we are gonna talk about Lake Make, so I was hoping that we could just kind of take in this information right now, that it's this much more just to run the library at its basic, and we will get to the Lake Make slide.
What is the spelling on LIGMEG?
LIGMEG.
Okay.
And it's in the slide and it's coming up, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, not shorting anyone. So that is the money. The last slide, this is what the town gives us. This comes out of all of the money that we're gonna talk about next. So the next slide I'm going to talk about is what I'm calling mostly unrestricted. And the only reason I'm calling it mostly unrestricted is that some of the money asks to keep a balance in the account. But none of these funds that we're going to talk about right now have any restriction in terms of what you can use them for. So that's why I'm calling them unrestricted. So these accounts are with the town. They're in a town account. We can access them through the town, through the treasurer. So we have, the first one is the Bullfinch, and it was received in 1922 by the town for library purposes. And they treat the original $1,000 as unexpendable. So right now that has the $6,133. We have the Loomis account in 1942, and it stated that it becomes a part of the endowment of the Goodwin Memorial Library, the income to be used for its benefit. So this is restrictive language, meaning the original 5,000 cannot be touched. There's the mostly, right? So we now have $19,000, $19,052 in the Loomis fund, 5,000 of which we cannot use. The next fund is the Ryan Fund, received in 1959. The income only to be used annually by the trustees of the town for the care and support of the libraries at Hadley and North Hadley. We used to have a branch in North Hadley when I started.
At North Hadley Hall.
And so that also, the first $5,000 is unexpendable. So all of these people kind of thought they were starting endowments for the library, which is interesting because I think that'll really come to play as we move through. And the last is the LIGMIG. And I kind of spelled out what LIGMIG is here, right? So you all understand. So LIG is dispersed to all certified municipalities based on their population. It evens out library funding is what it's intended to do. The MEG is dispersed to all certified municipalities using a calculation by a formula. So that's why it's important for us, as Patrick said, to stay certified.
Right.
So every year we get LIGMIG funds, and we have really saved ours. We use ours sometimes, as we see we're using it now, 12,000 of it to make that payment. But right now we have 105,735 in LIGMIG. We also have a small gifts account with the town, and it's for $137,676. And that's for any use. That's if somebody comes in, they write a check, Town of Hadley, for library use, it goes into that account. And we have the Charlotte Smith Fund. It was received from the estate of Charlotte Smith. It is not with the town. Part of receiving this was that it had to go into the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts. So it's a separate account with the Community Foundation, and it's $526,524. So our total of unrestricted funds was a little over $819,000. And then I just subtracted out, for our sake, the 11,000 of monies that we can't touch. So the total amount for unrestricted use is $808,568. Any questions about unrestricted money before we move to the next pot? Is that kind of okay? So the next pot is our restricted funds. The Hadley Library Fund is something I actually was one of the people that opened up with Allison when we were going for the capital campaign for building of the library. We opened it up specifically for capital improvements and expenses associated with capital improvements. So if you're having a party to raise funds for capital improvements, you can use it. This is the money we raised when we were building the library. It has $367,495. It is at the Community Fund of Western Mass because there was no other logical place to hold the money. And the last one is the Nugent Fund. This actually, did it start at 50,000? I forgot. No, yeah, so I think even more.
75,000.
And we use this to help build the library. It was donated by Kate Nugent, who is a select board member upon her death. And she really wanted to make sure that the town didn't take the money and use it for operating costs. So she left it for capital expenditures and not administrative purposes.
And this room was named after Kate Nugent.
So this was done as a legacy on her part? All right, and you thought it was about 50,000 to start?
I thought it was 75.
I don't think it was that much, but it was somewhere in between 50 and 70.
I feel like it got up there as
It could be it.
yeah.
Can I make a brief comment about?
Absolutely.
So the Hadley Library Fund, one of the reasons, curiously, why having raised this money through donations to the library project, well, why is the money still there? And partially that's because the library project came in under budget. We didn't spend the entire amount of money that was allocated by the town's taxpayers or the state funds. Well, we spent all the state funds, but there's still some money left over from the taxpayers. Probably at this point, I don't know the number, but it's less than $80,000 in that account. And as we have been exploring the needs of the roof, that money has been drawn down further to pay for the studies that are going to help us get to the next stage of addressing what's going on with the roof.
Most people are still contributing.
People are still contributing in small amounts, like every year, even just sort of passively knowing that it's an avenue, people still contribute. But it has slowed down because there's not an active campaign to remind people that this is something that we are raising money for. I think that's going to change soon because we are going to need more than $367,000 to fix the roof.
And the original budget for this building, about 4 million came from the state and about 4 million was raised from Hadley, roughly.
It was like 3.9 from the state, 3.8 from the taxpayers, and then we had pledged to raise $300,000 in funding.
I think it came out to 48% of the cost of the library was borne by this town.
Okay.
So the final venue that we have for library funds is the Friends. And they're a separate organization from the library. They're their own 501c3. They're run by a board. Their purpose is to support the library. And we make requests from them as needed. They manage their own fundraising, their own membership. And at their June meeting, it was reported by the treasurer that they have a CD worth $34,000 and a checking account with almost $6,000 in it. So those are the pots of money that the library has. One of the things we were going to suggest is that moving forward, we establish, and after we met with Northampton, we've kind of started doing some research, and we would like to start figuring out how to build an endowment for the library, like a true $2 million initial goal endowment for the library. Other libraries have development committees, and if you notice when you read your trustee manual, I was really excited that the new version of the trustee manual actually talks about, I called Patrick, I'm like, I'm so glad it says this, actually says that the trustees should have a development subcommittee. So I feel like there has been question in the past about whether that needs to happen. It's clearly laid out by the NDLC. There's no question that we should have a development committee. When we talk to Northampton, their development committee meets, and it includes trustees, folks from the town, members from the Friends, and they get together and talk about their money pool regularly. So they all work collaboratively, which is the hope that we have for this kind of undertaking, right? And it is an undertaking. One of the things I did today was talk to a select board member and say, we have all these pools of money. We're not a 501c3. How can we, if we pooled some of this money,
Right.
like if we went back to this unrestricted money and we pooled it, we would have $819,568 to start our endowment. So I asked like who we could go to, like it was suggested that we talk to the new town administrator who has some experience in Amherst, and then with the lawyer, and then see, like, let's look at these. Can we pull them together legally? What can we do? Do we have to put them in the community fund? There's all kinds of legalities about nonprofits and town funds. But this is a really good place for us to start if we were looking at having a $2 million endowment for the library where we were, say, drawing $40,000 a year, right? Then you see your 12,000, right? You see where it's coming from. You're drawing every year from it. So we need to think about how we can move forward with that, take the next steps. And my request to the trustees is that we start this endowment subcommittee. I have happily said I would kind of take the lead on it. It's something I believe in strongly. I feel like it's the second step after building this building. I know Julie's been to some meetings. Jack has been to some. Anyone's welcome to come. But I think this is the next step. And I think it's important that we bring the Friends along with us, and that we bring anyone who's interested in the town along with us in building that development committee. And I thought, after kind of putting this to paper, I thought, this is really neat because we're not starting at zero. Like if we can pull all these together, we can start at a decent amount towards $2 million.
If you go back one, there's also an opportunity here. If this were the Bullfinch Loomis Ryan endowment, right, those three folks originally bequeathed money that included essentially an endowment, right? So I know that folks often are kind of wedded to, well, we've got this is what it's for, but in some ways, we're gonna revert some of the money from this into its original purpose, which was an endowment, is really kind of honoring the legacy of the folks.
That was what was so nice when I read it.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of even thinking about the naming of it, right? That way, like we could do some research, find out about them,
Yeah.
why they did it. It could be like a really interesting start for that.
I got you, Margie Townsend.
So that's kind of, I think it's important that this word get out, and like, I really wanted the trustees to know our financial picture. I've sometimes being here this long, I forget that like, not everybody is like, has this ingrained. And it's a good picture for us. We just want to make it better, right? We want to make it like a long-term solution for the library, and we want to bring the friends in. And work collaboratively, I feel like, to do that. And when we talked to Northampton, Northampton was very clear, like, we're not necessarily asking the Friends to raise money for our endowment. We're just collaborating, right? Like, so when they get money, when we get money, we're all kind of sharing. So go ahead, sorry.
Can you go back to the sort of 6,000? Yeah, so of this, all of this just came from Ligmig, plus there's other money that, like from the Charlotte Smith, from the Friends that you're using for programming, or the money from Charlotte Smith and Friends is included in operational?
No, this was just operational costs. This is just Joanne asked me like, how is Ligmag being used?
Yeah, so this
And
is
so
only for
I said, this is how much we spent. I had a report run.
Yeah,
And I said, this is the total amount. And then I just went through the report and said, this is payroll. And then everything else was operation.
got it. Because the way this is laid out, you know, you showed us the budget for the year, the white sheet, yeah. And then you showed us this, so it looks as if, oh, it's that plus this, but it's really, to run the library, it's the white sheet plus this, plus some other stuff.
Friends,
Not
money
really
Friends
visible.
gives us, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
we'll keep
Yeah.
from there, but I initially wanted
Yeah,
to,
yeah, I'm just trying to like think about how I think about it in terms of, this is the minimum gap that we need to make, to be able to make up every year, back to your 40,000.
right,
Right, because it's very possible you could be not that shy of 40,000 at this point.
Yes, I would say actually more than that, because it's been our goal to increase the hours of one of our staff members, which, that is a whole other conversation that we're going to have because of the expense of benefits. Benefits have
Yeah.
exploded so much
Yeah.
that what was previously a fairly, mundane ask, a common ask to say, well, we need to, put someone on the benefits. Even if the person doesn't avail themselves of those benefits, we are still going to be, if they suddenly
Right,
change
the-
to, we need to be prepared to pay for them if
Yeah.
they should take them.
Yeah.
And so, that's something that we really need to do in the short term, and it's just really and the trustees have already committed money, with a previous vote to use some money from Charlotte Smith in order to do that. But unfortunately, at this point, it is, and we also got a grant from the state, from the Mass Cultural Council in support of library operations. That's a recurring grant that we'll get for 4 years. That would have allowed us to essentially raise the hours of that staff person, and then the money from Charlotte Smith would have covered the benefit cost or the liability for those benefits. However, it's now not enough because the benefits have gone up.
So can you give me an idea of what percentage, if you're looking at total cost of staff, full-time staff person, what percentage do benefits take up of that cost?
It will
like
depends on-
40%.
it sort of depends on how many hours they get. You know what I mean? I mean, the goal has always been to get people, because of the cost of benefits, once
Or I
they,
was looking at FTE, but I didn't know what that's 38 hours a week.
it's 37 and a half here.
Yeah.
So if you're going to splash out for those benefits, you might as well be getting as much, value from the number of hours rather
But
than.
it's around 40% in total cost.
I have to do that. I have to
Yeah.
do math on that. We haven't been at this point close to being able to offer someone full-time hours, but because of the way the union contract reads, it used to be that we would be able to have an employee working up to an average of 19 hours per week before benefits would kick in. Now that the union is there, and I'm all in favor of the union.
Yeah.
But the way the contract reads, we have less flexibility to make these decisions. It has to kind of go through the union, it has to be approved. And the threshold for benefits now is, as I understand it, 15 hours. So essentially that's where this person is essentially stuck. And it's for that reason. So it doesn't really make sense to have, pay, well, we're gonna give you 4 more hours and now we owe you
Right.
$30,000 in benefits. That doesn't work. So really the goal is to be getting them full time and then to justify that cost.
So it's wonderful to be able to lean on an endowment. I guess I just wonder when people from the community say, well, do more of your fundraising and cover more of your costs and all of that. I don't know, is this setting up any kind of slippery slope?
Well, I think this, well, I, someone is always going to say that, but, but I think there are a lot of, like hard facts that, that can undercut that argument. One of which is like the formula for that LIGMEG, for that state aid funding. If you don't do these things, if you don't, pay for these services and these materials,
If the town does
if the
it.
town does,
Okay.
yeah. If we don't have a budget, if the budget gets slashed, if the budget is cut in a way that's disproportionate to other departments, then we are in jeopardy of losing that money from the state.
So it's good to have that particular guardrail in place. And I guess my other parallel is thinking how the trustees operate over at Hopkins and what they do. And they're very careful with how they spend their money.
I think it's better to compare to other libraries, though. I mean, I think most libraries have, everyone we've talked to so far, at least, like Amherst, Northampton, we now have many other examples, have endowments.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. And if
No, that's okay.
If there are very clear kind of rules in place around the withdrawal percentage, right? That does offer some protection to some of the points that you've made, right? So it's voted in, we're only taking 4% rolling average per year, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So great, if you fundraise, and you've got $1 billion, then there obviously it's going to be more towards your operating budget, but it's not like the town can come along and say, well, now you have to just empty it out to pay everyone's salary. Because that's just not how it works. They could come along and try to say that about any of those other funds, right? But then, to your point, we'd be in kind of jeopardy in terms of getting that other money back.
Yeah, just a point of information, this LIGMEG fund, it's not one in, I mean, there's state funds, right? It's not in which the state, if you don't spend it during the year, wants the rest back.
No, that's saving it. We've saved ours over
You
the
said you
years.
saved it, but that is what everybody does with those funds. They don't use them. All other municipalities,
So-
libraries,
So some use every year.
every dime. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're one of the few who have saved them.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, we were really
As
good
long as
about
we're
saving
like,
us.
yeah, okay.
We're savers.
Okay.
That's why we have this much.
Audrey, can you hear everything perfectly well?
And Audrey, I was gonna move you.
I
to the-
cannot hear everything. I can hear most of what people are saying, but I also don't understand a lot of the issues involved. So it's not
Okay.
really helping me to be able to hear what I do here. I am. So
Yeah.
if the library were to be able to get a $2 million endowment, why do we think that would generate $40,000 every year in income? That seems a bit optimistic to me, but I don't know this area very well, so I could be completely wrong, and that might be exactly the amount we would get, but I just really don't know.
All right, so I think everyone in the room was able to hear your question, and who wants to take that one on?
So those are the numbers that were generated at our development meeting. And those are the numbers Northampton, I think, gave us, right? That they were getting. So we use an average of what other people were getting on that endowment amount. Do you have anything to add to that, Allison?
Yeah, I think that was based on, I can't remember if it was a $2 million endowment. If you had a $2 million endowment and it grew at X rate per year, and you were only taking a draw of some lesser percent a year. So if you think, oh, our average stock market return over time is 9%. So if we keep this 2 million, we're gonna assume a 9% growth. We can all know that's not, who knows, but you gotta make some assumptions, and we're going to only take 4% of it every single year. That's how the 40,000 came up.
Were you able to hear Allison's last comments?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? I didn't want to saturate us. I just wanted us to open this up and say that I think now with the approval of this group, we will kind of keep moving forward with our development committee. Allison has volunteered to be on it. We know you're here, maybe you're interested in being on it. And hopefully we'll get some friends to the table. We'll start finding community members that are interested, and we'll really start building this and report back to the trustees at our meetings monthly on where we are on it.
And I can kind of say, like, in terms of the Friends, because I'm a member of the Friends, I'm not on the board.
And I'm in the same situation. Yeah.
But in our last meeting, I don't think you were there.
I was not.
So you were not volunteered.
I was volunteer. That was fun.
But we identified some subcommittees in terms of like membership, and I believe like development, or there was another term for it, but like similar themes of wanting to support the library. So I certainly can't speak for the whole group, but I think the joint mission of trying to support the library is really the goal.
And also, so I'm thinking that if we're, like, one of the things we heard Northampton say is that when everybody got around the table and the Friends were able to report like what they raised
Yeah.
and who they raised it from, we weren't double hitting. It was really more about kind of
That's smart.
working together
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
fundraising. So I'm going to send this to the trustees and to everyone that was at this meeting, and probably to the Friends also, just,
to Amanda, I think.
yeah. And I'll offer to bring it to a Friends meeting, or if you, Allison, might be willing to present it at a Friends
Happy to do
meeting.
so. Yeah.
But I also thought, as a new trustee, this is really good information to know. So when we talk about money and where money is coming from, you kind of have an understanding of the funds that we have
Is that league night, is that every year you get something dispersed, or is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
from the town.
No, the Lignac.
Lignac, yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly, what would you get per year, roughly, from Lignac?
Well, it changes with the economy, with the state budget essentially, and the economic outlook of the state. But in recent years, we've been getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 grand or more per year.
Is that kind of like in July or?
We get two payments from them, one in late winter and one in the spring. So it's basically just divided into two, but for some reason they don't, I'm not sure if it's because they don't know what the second payment is going to be.
They probably don't know.
Yeah, there's I think some movements.
You just gave us that we got from Lignac.
15.
About
Yeah.
averaging about 15.
Yeah,
Recent years.
very good savers.
We have been good singers.
I think people just don't have a lot of knowledge in terms of library revenue streams and like where funds come from. Just in the public, and I know it was briefly discussed like in the Friends meeting, but part of what we're trying, what I heard, is like I hate to say a campaign, but kind of like a knowledge camp, like educational campaign in terms of like the next year. Which I think would be great to partner with, to join forces
Yeah.
with, because I think a lot of people just don't know. And I think to like kind of what you're saying, Joanne, like if we're not isolating specific groups and we're coming together in terms of education, so it doesn't feel like pockets, I think it'll be better received, you know.
We had to make a presentation last year to the finance committee, and it was very informative for a lot of them to know about some of the obligations to the state.
Yeah.
And that becomes part of the narrative every year, because the same types of questions come up oftentimes from people that were around the table the previous night. So they just didn't remember, or, people have been whispering in their ear, well, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that? But one thing that I want to say about the Friends, and, I know there are no actual Friends board members here, but philosophically, one thing that I think is, the way I look at it personally, is that the Friends have a mission to raise money, and they raise money through memberships. That's something that they do every year in different ways. They remind people to renew their memberships. They drum up new members all the time. My thinking on this is that the Friends, as opposed to being in competition for resources, what the goal of the Friends should be, again, in my opinion, is to be pushing forward towards maximizing membership. The dollar amount does not matter. The inclusion does matter. Having people plugged into what's going on here, that will lead to people making donations in these other ways. So if someone can come in and join for $1,000, that's wonderful. If they can come in and join at $50, that's wonderful.
Right.
We should not, in my opinion, turn anyone away, even if the most that they can contribute is $1.
Right.
Because it's more valuable to have them plugged in and in support of the library and have their name, knowing that they stand by the library, than to be collecting the $10.
And that's actually part of the research that I was tasked with on the membership committee, was using that database that you did to do comparisons and reaching out to like-sized libraries throughout the state, but that have very high friends reported on that stuff. So I have some responses back, not a ton, but a lot of them are on the Cape. But looking forward to see like what like how they've kept up their member engagement and what their thoughts and stuff like to that too.
Right.
So we can try to mirror that here.
And Patrick, do you want to share your ultimate goal for who should be a friend in Hadley?
I mean, I would love to see every household. I would like to see the goal being just like the stated goal. This is what we're pushing for. We may never get there, but the goal being to have every household having some sort of a membership with the Friends. I don't think that's an unattainable goal, or it's not a crazy goal. It's the kind of thing that, you know, we should be pushing for. There's really no reason not to be pushing for that. Like, how many households are there in Hadley?
Well, there's about 5,400 people.
5,400 people, but households, I don't know.
And we talked, when I was on the Friends, we talked about trying to give, like when a baby's born, giving a book, like ways to connect to families, and that's future. But I think for today, I really, and the other thing I wanted from the trustees was, I know we don't need to vote, but just like kind of an approval for me to go forward to talk to the town administrator about these funds and about the possibility of things we could do to merge them. I won't actually do anything except talk about it and try to find a path to get things together and in alignment. I assume the town lawyer is going to have to be involved at some point.
This is an item we would not need to vote on?
I don't think, I just want like a general, are we okay with that? I don't think you need to vote on it. Because I'm not doing anything, I'm just talking about it. But I tend not to like to talk in, so all of you weren't here when I was a chair, but when I was a chair, it was really important for me when I spoke for all of us that we were all in agreement that I did that. So I'm just asking, is it okay with all of, I'm just sensing some agreement before I do that.
Fine by me.
Okay.
And Wayne unfortunately is out sick today. He sent me a message just before this meeting.
Okay. So, and I'll make sure I get him a slideshow and I can sit with him if he needs to. So thank you everyone for kind of indulging me in
Yes, invitation, so actually from the Friends, so, you know, Amanda did reach out, just so you know, and asked, can somebody go? I'm just glad to see you here, but I didn't know you were coming, but I said, hey, I'll go and represent, because I know I've been in some of these other meetings, so when you send it to Amanda, I will follow up, and I will say, hey, I'm happy to present this at our next meeting, which is September, or you can offer to come to it as well, so.
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
You have your meetings quarterly?
no, but there's like a summer hiatus,
Gotcha. Okay.
right, the next meeting's in September, is that right?
Thank you for pulling all that together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Audrey, do you want me to bring you to the bigger screen now? That I'm done and I can flop?
Okay. That's it. Bye, guys.
Do you want me to see?
Sure,
this?
I don't
Oh,
care.
the owl's not there.
This is fine. Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks.
I'm gonna keep this closed.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
So who were those people?
Yeah, I apologize. I realized at the end I didn't introduce. So Allison Dr. Benman, she, for all of yours, she was sitting in the last chair. She was the chair of the building committee and she's a former trustee and now a friend. And the other person is Dragon, who has just been kind of a library advocate for a while and is stepping into the Friends role a little more. And so those are the two folks.
What's her first name?
Dragon.
She goes by Dragon.
Oh, I just had a student whose last name is Dragon, but that's her last name.
Might be a
Anyway.
relationship. Who
It
knows?
was,
Could be.
it was,
It is the family name.
it's the family.
It's the family name. Yeah.
Yes, right. I knew that. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
And so Joanne, thank you for pulling all that together. I think that given the late arrival of the minutes, that's something we should table until
I'm
next
so
time.
sorry. I thought I hit send and I guess I
Yeah.
did not.
And there's no one else here for public comment. So that brings us to the director's report.
Okay.
I can take over taking minutes, Julie, too.
Okay, great, thank you.
So what is going on here is a very busy summer reading season, which started in mid-June, right before school let out. Jack was kind enough to bring over some factors for the big summer reading kickoff. We had, I don't have the numbers in front of me for summer reading, but we had something like 200 people here for that first day, and I believe we have over 100 people signed up to participate in summer reading. We also have an adult summer reading program, which is will lead to, I think, some raffle gifts being distributed at the end of the summer. And those are, your raffle is by bringing in reviews of things that you have read and turning them into Susan Brown. And then we'll be doing those drawings later on in the summer.
Can you repeat the number? How many kids roughly for the summer reading day?
I believe we had over 200 people here. Again, that's just from memory, but it was something along those lines, which is not the all-time high, but it's pretty good. It was a beautiful day. So for this month, we continue to be very busy. I know with the stats that I shared, you'll see things, the percentages for items circulated and patron count are actually down somewhat significantly, 9% and 6%. But when you look at the average for patrons per day and average for patrons per hour, that number remains extremely high. Part of the issue is that some months, like 1 June, doesn't always have the same number of days as a June in another year. So it fluctuates, even though we weren't really, at the end of the day, less busy per day or per hour. I wanted to mention that with the roof, an unfortunate thing with the roof is that we are sort of seeing an increased incidence of small leaks in a particular area of the building, essentially under the sloped lower roof that covers the staff areas. So my office, the circulation workroom, the break room, and the local history room have seen water infiltration over the past few months. And I've asked that Gary Berg reach out to the roofing contractor who has come out on a number of occasions up to this point to see if he can shore up the situation, find any sources of water infiltration, address them, even if it's only temporary, because, you know, it's leaving visible marks. We're seeing streaks and marks left staining on the ceiling. So we want to try to, slow that down to the extent that is possible while we figure out. We asked Gary because the town has a roofing. Gary Berg.
No. He's not retiring
Not until October. Oh, you were January?
I heard January yesterday.
Okay. All right. Well, that keeps moving. I don't know, but he's still here.
Sorry.
He's still on the job.
Yep.
Yes.
So and the town, I believe, has a go-to roofing contractor that they reach out to when there's a roofing issue. So I just asked them to get them back. I also, after having a conversation with Nate Malloy, the new town administrator, I had a personal conversation with him. Jack and I met with him just yesterday. Already seems like a week ago. And we walked through that. We gave him a tour of the building. We showed him some of the the visible spots where we've had water infiltration, but we talked about other things too. We just talked about library operations in general. We gave him the tour of the whole building so that he could see it, because I don't think he had up to that point. And then we sat and we had a really good conversation for what was probably like an hour and a half. It was like it was a good long talk. So I do hope that he's going to be very engaged going forward. He's going to reach out to town council to see where things stand, because he needs to get up to speed with conversations that have happened in the past with advice that's come from town council as far as their opinions on what can be done and the likelihood of success. So he needs to wrap his mind around all of that, and then we really need to get back to the select board to examine all of the facts and then decide what to do going forward, because ultimately, one way or the other, we need to do something about the roof, and whether it's a partial fix or a total fix, we just have to start moving in a direction because we can't let the building deteriorate.
So just reminding
Yeah.
people that this year, it's now 6 years that we've been here.
We have been here for 6 years, and the roof has essentially been an issue to one degree or another since day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Jen, that's what we use.
I also reached out to David Wiskevitz in his capacity as building inspector at Nate's suggestion, just to see if he had any thoughts specifically on strategy for addressing the roof. Like, should we go for a whole roof fix? Is there a way to do this in incremental fashion, dealing with the most severely affected areas? Does that even make sense? I have not really had a chance to sit down with him and have that conversation yet, so stay tuned for more on that and all things roof related. It's going to be an ongoing agenda item as it has been for years. Vendor accounts, I just wanted to mention that in the wake of our Baker and Taylor, which was our major book supplier, going under last fall, we now have a number of vendor options. We have active accounts with Ingram, which was probably the largest competitor with Baker and Taylor. That's where we're getting the majority of our new releases in print through Ingram. We also have active accounts with Barnes & Noble, with Amazon Business, as well as Midwest Tape, which is a media supplier that we're using quite heavily for audiobooks, for music CDs, DVDs.
Yeah.
Midwest Tape. And we also have accounts with a couple of local bookstores like the Odyssey in South Hadley that we use in a pinch where we need to grab something. It's great to support a local business. Yeah.
Cost versus, what we were paying to this, people went out of business and what we're looking at in terms of cost for material.
The discounts are, the retail costs are what they are. I mean, a book has a retail jacket price that's set by the publisher, but the discounts are roughly comparable. So we're and the turnaround on materials getting to us is not perfect, but it's pretty good, and it's a lot better than it was for a period of time when Baker and Taylor was failing and we didn't know that it was failing. We were really struggling to get things in a timely fashion, so it has improved significantly. I wanted to mention, actually, a couple of things I wanted to mention. One that's on the report here, I hope everyone has had a chance to see the exhibition of Hopkins student art. Karen Sousy, who is the art teacher at Hopkins, came over. I got up on that ladder. We got all those birds hanging up in the main hall. They replaced the plastic streamers that were in there for, actually, I don't know what, for like 4 years. So it's nice to have something new. And the birds are really spectacular. They were all made by the Hopkins students. So I guess from 8th grade up.
It's an impressive flock.
It's really fun, and people are absolutely loving it. And I hope everyone will come in and see it. I don't know how long we get to keep these birds, because some of the students may want their artwork back. But we'll see how long we get to keep them. But it's a big hit for the summer, and it really livens up the space. And I hope we can do more things with that type of display.
Was that her idea or a mutual?
She came over with this idea. She usually comes over at the end of the year with artwork of different. We had I think, I don't even remember when this was. We had ceramic mugs. We've had ceramics a couple of times, actually. We've done all kinds of stuff, going all the way back to the Goodwin days. We used to have student art displayed in the fireplace room there. So we've been doing this for years.
Amherst does that for their high school art department. They do like a whole show.
Yeah.
And then they have food and families come. It's really neat. Like, my kids have been in it and they went to Amherst.
I love it. I was an art major, full disclosure. That's where I came from.
Yeah,
so
me too.
So I relate to it very much. And I think for the kids in school where, they don't really have an opportunity to have their work displayed, this is a natural fit. This is a great partnership that is really kind of working to both the benefit of the students in the school as well as for the benefit of the residents of town to be able to see this lovely work.
But has she thought about having like an actual opening show and
We have talked about things like that before. One of the things is that they are so under the gun at the end of the school year that sometimes it seems like an additional amount of work to do that, but it's certainly something that we could look at, particularly if it wasn't at the end of the year. But a lot of these things end up being sort of towards the end of the school year.
Amherst has it at Amherst College.
Yeah.
And it's just spectacular, and
Yeah.
they have music and families come, and
It's definitely an opportunity that we
Yeah.
could expand on, and this would be a great thing for the Friends to be involved in and for the Friends to present. So it's something that I'm sure we could work on, but Karen is unfortunately one person in the school that's doing all this, so she's hard pressed to.
And Joanne, completely agree. This, having some sort of summer showcase is a marvelous way to show the work of kids at Hopkins.
Yeah.
And to show off the library and to bring more people.
Absolutely.
In some ways, it reminds me when the folks get the Friends scholarship
Oh,
at
yeah.
the end of the year.
I was
Yep.
thinking you could do them together.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
thinking that's like a great
That would be good.
Not to derail much, but they offer a scholarship to 2 students from Hopkins every year, and they actually award it here. It's a wonderful evening. Friends and family come over. It's great.
Another thing I wanted to mention, this actually, I came in this morning and our former trustee chair Lynn was here in doing her volunteer shift, and she said, "Did you hear that the library was on NPR?" And I said, "No." Like, why? I hope it's something good. And she mentioned that, well, it was I guess they got it from the Gazette. And I said, well, what was in the Gazette? Like what's going on here?
I think it's every day.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, I live up in Orange, so we don't get the Gazette way up there. But the apparently, so I knew about this, but Alan Weinberg, in his capacity at the Hadley Historical Society, is running a program this Saturday. And part of that apparently is that they're going to be displaying an engraving of the Declaration of Independence. It's not from it. I mean, it's a kind of a recreation.
It's a
from
copy.
the 1820s or 30s, I believe. It says 1845 here on the Gazette story. But that apparently is extremely noteworthy. Apparently, the engraving is very rare, and this has caused quite a splash. And so, I would really encourage anyone that is able to come over this coming Saturday to check that out, as well as the rest of
The
it.
library, it's just that they're having the event at the library.
Yes, I mean, I like to think of them as collaborations because we're constantly, working to coordinate these things. But yeah, I did not know that we were going to have the Declaration of Independence at the library. So, but yeah, so that's going to be a really interesting program. They're going to have a bunch of stuff.
There's no camera.
Really?
I think that Audrey.
Okay. What else do I have to tell you? Another thing that I wanted to mention really quickly, and we'll move on here. But we're looking at a potential collaboration. I don't want to be too premature in announcing this because we haven't worked out all the details, but I do think it's going to happen. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Visions Video over in Northampton, but we were talking about doing a sort of a pilot collaboration, sort of in the way that it's kind of a combination of what we do in terms of museum passes for allowing patrons to access museums at no cost, and our access to Canopy, our membership with Canopy, which is a film streaming service. So what we're hoping to do is create a program whereby local libraries will be able to have a membership with Visions Video that will then allow that library's patrons to access their video collection. Visions Video is a nonprofit, essentially video store in Northampton on Main Street that is a great haven for film lovers. It's kind of like I would say, well, one of the people that's involved in it, George Myers, is a former executive director of Amherst Cinema, and so he's kind of at the center of film culture in the Valley.
Did they get the Ford's collection?
They did. They got some stuff from a bunch of different places.
Place. And
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street.
Yes.
They closed, they have
Yeah.
an amazing collection, and I think Forbes got them, and, anyway, so this would be just a huge, like a red box kind of thing, or you would go into a store?
It's like the video store that you remember.
Right.
It allows you to go in. I mean, if that's not your thing, you won't be availing yourself of that service. But for people that are, that are still into physical media and just being sort of, I mean, in the same way that this bricks and mortar place full of
Yeah.
physical stuff attracts people of a certain, and this would be at no cost.
Our DVDs would go there.
No. Our DVDs will remain here, but
Oh,
that,
okay.
our probably as time progresses, there's going to be less and less investment in DVDs and physical media. But this is a great, this is a great thing for people who love film.
Like
And
an
it's a great
extended
place.
access tax.
Right. And so I when it opened, I became a member myself personally. I go over there. It's a really fun thing to do on a Friday night or whatever. And it's great to be close to, again, someplace where film lovers gather, and just to be a part of that kind of community. So it's, just like there are places for visual art and performing arts, this is another place for people who love film to gather. And we thought this might be a possibility because they are a nonprofit. This might be something that we could partner on, and see if it works.
Support them, I mean, we give them money to have, or
We will-
we give Canopy fund.
It would essentially work like Canopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like a pay-per-play. So if no one's using it, we're not paying. And if it's going gangbusters, well, you're paying for what you get. And that would, of course, be, we would adjust that as it needs to be adjusted going forward, but it seems a completely reasonable thing to try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it's a big success, I think it would be a lot of fun for a lot of people, especially for folks who cannot afford to pay for that membership to just do it themselves. So it's lowering a barrier to access for something that is nonprofit. So very excited about that, and stay tuned. We're going to iron out the details to figure out how to roll it out, and hopefully we'll be doing that in the next few months. I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to be getting some new computers pretty soon, but there's nothing to see there. We're just going to be filling out those last slots.
And those have been
Carols.
funded already.
They have been funded, yes. They just have not been fully purchased. That we haven't placed the order yet. We have to get the specs first.
Patrick, the other day, one of the computers had a sign saying not working. When you,
Yeah.
I was seated in the right direction to see that.
Yes.
When you have computers that break down at the library, who fixes them?
It depends. It depends on what's going wrong. So we have a service contract with CW Mars. All of those computers, the computers that are on the CW Mars internet network, we have a service contract for them to deal with most things network related, some software issues. Essentially what we're having them do is we're having them manage the constant cycle of updates for computers, because the computers are also constantly on their own going through system updates, security updates. We have a security software package that we pay for that essentially is not only protecting the computers from malware, but it's also protecting patron privacy by deleting the data that's left behind when a patron comes in and uses the computer. So all of this because of the fact that we do not have a dedicated IT person in town. Ordinarily, up to this point, it has fallen to me to do, and I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not afraid of computers, but I can't. It's almost like a full-time job because it is constantly, as you saw, constantly something is not working. Constantly a printer is malfunctioning. And so we have CW Mars that works on it. And we also have a freelance person named Hank Allen, who was a former staff member of the Jones Library. And he often will help me out for smaller things where I need
As a
something.
volunteer?
No, we pay him. I mean, he pays, but he's extremely reasonable. And he's worked in the CW Mars context, so he's very easily deployed to fix problems that we have that are common problems. Networking a printer. Oh, suddenly the printer doesn't appear anymore in our, on these computers. Can you get that back up and running? And then we do have Northeast IT, but generally they don't work on our stuff unless it's the second network that deals with the lights and the phones and things like that.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, looking at the agenda and spinning this around. Audrey, I'm just wondering what you're getting from this. I hope you're able to hear most of this. Okay, it's good to get a thumbs up.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. It's fine. I could hear everything that Patrick said, but I also had the report in front of me, so all good.
right. So election of the chair and no taker slash secretary. I'm hearing that the vice chair isn't really a necessary position. So we have everyone except Wayne here at the meeting. And just wondering if there are any volunteers for any of these positions. I don't know how you usually handle this.
I'd like to make a nomination for Jack.
Yeah. I would second that.
What was that?
We're seconding Jack for chair.
Oh, yeah, Jack.
Sedesky.
Third.
Yeah.
Okay, and we get a thumbs up from Audrey. Thanks. Um,
You vote?
well, yeah, so
Do you
now.
accept the nomination?
So I accept the nomination, but we still do need a vote, I
Yeah.
believe. So if all the members present would vote,
I vote aye.
Kim
I just said passes
Sure.
unanimously.
and Audrey, okay. Thanks.
I felt like I predicted that.
I've already learned more than I ever would have imagined, helping out over these last few months here. And now secretary.
So I'm gonna be really honest, I don't mind being secretary,
Right.
but I really would like to take a bigger role on the development committee, so if anyone else is interested in being secretary. But if you can't bring a computer, it's almost easier, like if you have a laptop.
Yeah.
And you can do it, because I just do it right here and then I just get right on to go.
No, really interested in doing it, but if you, I would switch off, if you.
Would you like cover me like we did today if I
Yeah,
need to?
sure.
Okay.
And having a collaborative approach
Yeah, I mean,
to
'cause
secretary
I
is
love
the best.
volunteer.
Do we even have to vote on this? If you're doing a collaborative approach?
You have to have a secretary,
Okay,
but and I'll take the name and then.
All right.
Julia's back up.
if you want to make,
I move that we nominate Joanne Kaczynski for secretary.
and I second that.
Okay,
And I'm just gonna write Julie that you are willing to back me up
Yeah.
if needed.
Okay.
so we vote.
So Kim? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Julie, yes. I'm a yes. Audrey, are you agreed?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
And Joanne?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for handling that. So discussion, I just put down other items. If there's things that need to be discussed that we haven't addressed, I'm, again,
So I just have an announcement,
sure.
because we're keeping it as a non-voting announcement.
Yeah,
I sent everyone an email and like it really is sticking with me. And I'm just wondering if we could keep it in the back of our mind. When I was in North Carolina, because whenever I visit places, I always visit libraries. And they had 24-hour access. So they had these lockers outside. So like if you wanted a book, but the library was closed, you reserved it during library hours, it went in the locker. And you were able to pick up your library book after hours.
Like an automat kind of.
It was kind of like an automatic kind of thing. I thought about that. And I just have to throw that, I'm not saying we have to do anything about it tomorrow, but I really want to throw it out there, because I think it is a way, like when we think about including everybody in town, like it's a really inclusive. And I don't know what you think about it, Patrick, like as an idea. Have you heard people use them or?
I mean, I've heard of the concept. I don't know of anyone doing it locally around here. They may very well may be, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah, I mean, I have generally been, I'm not averse to that. I have been generally averse to things like self-checkout because I think that they, relative to the cost of investment in the equipment, the degree to which human intervention remains a part of that. I mean, go to the grocery store and do the self-check. You're constantly calling someone over from where they're
Yeah.
supposed to be posted up to fix your problem over
This
here.
was very simple. It was
Yeah.
like, just like a locker
Yeah,
approach
so
to
right,
like,
that will be the details, and if it's a simple setup, and we'd have to see how it works, but and where to locate it and how many lockers.
right, I know. I'm not even asking anyone to do anything. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of leaving.
It was
like-
it's an interesting seed to plant. It's an interesting idea.
Maybe it's something the friends would be interested in funding, like, something that, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to put it out there because I thought it was really neat when I was in North Carolina. And it was interesting because I was visiting people there.
Yeah.
And I met them at dinner, like, so they were busy working during the day, and then I had dinner with them, and I'm like, do you use those bins here? And they had no idea. They're like, they had no idea it existed. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I could use them out all the time.
I remember Bush Library has it, there's one of the newer, it's not new anymore, but one of the new libraries that was constructed here in Western Mass has like the conveyor belt. You can watch the book returns like going on the conveyor belt.
That might be something, that might be in Chicopee. I don't
It
know.
might be something.
Yeah.
Like that. I just can't remember, but I remember going there and just being like, huh. So this is the future.
Well, and speaking of discussion, do you ever get a chance to visit other libraries? Do you or your staff?
We used to, not as much as we used to, because most meetings, there was a meeting coming up, I can't remember where it was, but I made a note of it, I think it's on the two Fridays from now, or maybe it's just next Friday. There was going to be an in-person meeting in one of the, it was all the way out in like, it wasn't Lennox, but it was somewhere out there. It wasn't close by, but it was, and someone, the director who was putting the invite out to gather people together for this was saying it's kind of like the old fashioned meetings that we remember before COVID, when we actually used to meet in person.
Yeah.
We don't really do that so much anymore. Everything is done online. And for good reason. It really, I think it enables greater participation than the in-person stuff, but you miss actually meeting people.
Right.
It's been so long since I've really been in the room with like a bunch of other.
Which is why I had brought up the idea that we had someone at my house whose mom is a director of a library. And I was like, oh, where's your mom this weekend? And he's like, oh, she's in Chicago. And I'm like, oh, what is she doing? She's at a library convention. I'm like,
That was the
What?
ALA convention. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I emailed Patrick and said, hey,
Yeah.
do you ever go? Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't want to go, and that's okay too. But I just think, opportunities for staff development are important to like fund and think
Yeah,
about.
and absolutely. And so we actually, after we had that conversation, we had a staff meeting last Friday, maybe. And in the course of that meeting, I happened to mention that we had that conversation, and I just said, is there anybody here who would welcome that opportunity? Is there anyone here that would be excited to maybe go to whether, we have these kinds of events in the state, we have them regionally and we have them nationally. And it sort of depends on what your appetite is for travel and, what your goals are going. But one of our staff members was very enthusiastic and said, I'd love to think about doing that. So I said, well, let's discuss it. And one opportunity for doing that is that the Mass Library System provides a scholarship program that is sort of keyed to the location. So if you're going to a convention in Chicago that's going to entail, significant travel costs, the grant amount is larger. If you're just going to Boston, the grant amount is smaller. So that is an opportunity that we should explore. And I believe they do that twice a year, if I understand correctly. So that's an ongoing resource that we can look at. We also have in our budget a line item for meetings and travel related. It's very small right now because we again have been squeezing things, but the fact that we kept it on there means something that we could grow if we wanted to make that more significant. part of.
So it's not directly related to any agenda item, but for this open discussion here, was there ever a time where there was a sabbatical written into the contract or no?
Whose contract?
Yours?
I don't think there's any language to that effect.
Okay,
No.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
just going back in time. Okay. Any other items for discussion? Okay, so an announcement, and this is interesting. Amy Parsons is the library liaison for this year. Our liaison serves as a point of communication between our board and the select board and is available to assist with questions, provide updates, and help facilitate communication when needed. I'm wondering how you all think about inviting Amy to an upcoming meeting.
Great idea, yeah.
Yeah, she was our liaison on a previous, in a previous year. And we had her over, we invited her, I just sat down with her one-on-one and just sort of went through. Just talked about the library, talked about issues that we're facing, talked about the roof. So we could definitely do that again. I mean, we really should make a habit of doing that every year, but sometimes the time gets away.
Yeah, once or twice
Yeah,
over the course of a
absolutely.
year.
Yeah.
Are we in a spot where we can shift over and do the executive meeting notes or?
No, because unless you all wanna, I could show them. Up here, they're very short. I'm sure you all would like,
Yeah, I'm wondering about how it works with
With
this
Audrey.
being Zoom.
yeah, maybe we should do it next time.
We'll do it next time. All right.
So do you all understand why we have to go into, just to approve the minutes and come out?
Yeah.
So we could just do it next time.
Okay. We'll get there someday.
You all have them. I really apologize. I thought I hit send. Send.
And Audrey, just in case you didn't hear, the meetings for June 9th didn't get sent out in time.
You have them now.
You have them now?
Yes,
So
I have.
look ahead before the next meeting.
Audrey, I thought I sent them on Saturday morning. In my mind, they were sent. And it was funny, Jack, because you sent me something after, and I was like, this is an odd question for Jack to be asking me because he has the minutes and maybe I should have
Yeah.
asked you. So I apologize. Somehow they were in my box and I didn't hit send correctly.
It's okay,
You
that
all have them
happens.
now. I did them while we were sitting at.
So the word was, it happens. Just so you know. Our next meeting on the second Tuesday of the month is August 11th, next month.
I won't be here, but I can Zoom.
So we will have a Zoom link given to us by the folks at Hadley Media. It's going to be the same Zoom link as this Zoom link.
I'll be there.
All right, thank you. And I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting, but I need the second. Okay, and quick vote to adjourn. And there we have it at 8:11.
Wow.